Yeah, I don't think a lot of people talk about that enough. The importance of
Yeah.
sustaining what you've achieved. Like, for example, like an athlete, like, yeah, they can be the best player of the season, but for them, then is how do I do it again? I'm constantly wanting to grow, and I don't take time to enjoy what it has been created.
Do you think that you are numbed to success?
For me, I was constantly like, I need to achieve, I need to close the store for it to have, like, it needs to be done.
You are a real estate investor, asset manager, a product designer, and inventor.
I'm a very step by step, very logical person. I really want to create something that impacts the world on a global scale.
How do you deal with losing a lot of money? Anyone can make money, but it's not about making money anymore. It's about how do you sustain that and how do you invest that money.
First exit started coming when I was 16. If you love it that much and it's better for it to go somewhere else, then you gotta let it go.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of House of Impact podcast. Before we go into the episode, I just have one thing to ask you, which is if you're enjoying the show, please hit the subscribe button so we can keep bringing you bigger, better guests, keep the show going. Let's roll with the episode. Saif, welcome to House of Impact podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's interesting how I got to meet you because you invited us to your house party and then what you built is amazing. So let's introduce a bit to the audience. So you are a real estate investor, asset manager, a product designer, and inventor. But it wasn't always like that. Do you mind um walking us like through how everything started for you from the very beginning? You found success at a very early age,
Mhm.
around what, 11, 9,
14.
14.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Um, I think my family made a big impact on me. My dad's an entrepreneur. Well, everyone in my family is basically an entrepreneur. And as a kid, sort of seeing that, you sort of emulate and you do what your parents do, basically. And yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've always been intrigued by little things like that you see around your house or when you're walking the street, things that people take for granted, like the example I used before of, when you see a fan or an air conditioner or like, I don't know, a plant pot. These are all things that a person created at one point and thought of and then turned it into a thing for people, for the world. And yeah, just these inventions have always intrigued me. There was this movie called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like, it's a pretty old Disney movie. Yeah, it is a Disney movie. And it's basically this guy who's an inventor accidentally shrinks his kids in the garden, and the kids have to walk through the garden to get back into the house. But he was an inventor, like this crazy scientist guy, and I've always been obsessed with that movie. And then I realized that it's an actual job, and I always had ideas that I managed to execute. I'm a very step by step, very logical person. So when I have an idea, I am able to break it down and sort of understand like, okay, this is what you need to for step one, step two, step three, and I execute on all of my ideas. Most of the time, they don't work, or it's just a bad idea, or the market isn't ready yet, or it doesn't make any business sense. On paper, it looks good, but maybe in reality, it isn't. So I do a lot of testing, and I've been doing that since I was 14. So I got lucky at 14 with one of them.
You
It was
sold what did you create at 14? Just for the audience to know.
I created, I still create toys with Mattel and Hasbro, which are toy companies. So in the ball space, like toys, I created a patent with some of my family members where it's essentially a football that has raw denim on it, and and I'm from Amsterdam, so if you are, we have a very high like football is a very big thing basically in Holland, obviously. And yeah, kids started like I created this ball which then manually stone washes when you play with it on the streets, and yeah, we started licensing it out to different big brands, and yeah, it just became like it was just this very niche product thing that other brands understood, and they started using it as merchandise and promo material, and they're fully functioning sports items. And yeah, that was one of the first ones, and then created a few more after that.
Was that the one that you sold the pattern to Nike?
Yeah, so it was like a license that we managed to sell to a few different companies actually. It was Nike, it was Tommy Hilfiger, Burger King bought it, Red Bull bought it.
It's
Yeah,
crazy because all of those brands are brands that you just are walking down the street and you see like a Nike store, or
yeah,
then you see
they're
like
big
Red
brands.
Bull, and you're like, then all of a sudden you just sell them what you created at 14 years old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wild.
That to me, like, it's wild
Yeah.
that you just, whoa.
Yeah, it's and still up until today, whenever I create something and get to deal with like these big companies and big brands, I'm like,
Were
whoa.
you expecting it to for this to happen? Because I feel like you just had the idea and you created it, but were you expecting it to? Did you create it with the mindset of I'm gonna sell this to like the big brands, or it just happened?
No, that's not normally how I started. I just think it's a good idea. Um, and then if it's a good idea, then eventually someone in the industry um, will also think it's a good idea, and it fits them perfectly. But initially, I do it for myself. I build it for myself, and I really focus on that. I don't build so that one day Sony will buy one of my solar panels, or like Tesla will buy one of my ideas. I don't have that in mind. But I think if the product is strong enough, then eventually they'll reach out to you anyway and find out about it and want to work with you. But yeah, I really hone in on what do I have to do for me to like it. I don't really create it for someone else.
And then a few years later, you decide to exit the company.
Yeah.
You sold it. You had a lot of success with it. How how was it? How old were you when that happened?
So, I mean, we did kind of like multiple things within the same year. Um, so I'd say like the first exit started coming when I was 16, I would say. Yeah, about 16. And then, yeah, with any invention, it's basically like selling the idea because I really like the idea of like the startup idea, like just the beginning phase of a business. I'm not really interested in, I mean, it's very important, but it's just not who I am. It's like to deal with people like staff and salaries and rent and all that. Like, I prefer like a CEO can look after that. I'm not a CEO person. So it's kind of like I like the beginning phase of everything. And so my exit tends to be once I feel like I've done what I'm capable of doing with it. I believe that there's other individuals out there that can do a better job at running it than I can. And I just put my ego aside and go, hey,
Mm.
you do it because you're better than I am. And then is when the product becomes even more successful because I don't really hold on to it. So when you say exit, it's more like me just letting go of it so that I can
Mm.
focus on the next thing I want to do. And then I'll do that. And then I'll focus on the next thing I want to do. And that's basically how I've been doing it for the last 20 years, 20 plus years, actually. Yeah.
Obviously, your first exit was a very, very successful exit. How did you know what to sell the company for? You were 16, so how?
Yeah.
Because no one even taught you how to actually sell a company.
Yeah. I mean, I think at one point the offer is so good, you just go, yeah, well, okay. Like, everyone always has an idea for their business and that puts a valuation on their business, but your company is only valued what someone is willing to pay for it at the end of the day. That's what the value of the company is. So it's really not up to me to go, well, actually, it's $1 billion company. If someone's only willing to pay you $300,000, it's actually $300,000. Like just because your price tag is that doesn't mean it sells. So, and also again, ego. Like I don't really have that much of an. I mean, everyone has an ego, but I don't have that much of an ego. I'm able to let go if I think it's for the better of the product. I think most companies are, it's a separate entity. It's not me. I'm the person that can start it, but eventually the company is its own person. It's its own being, and the company should be bigger than the person. So yeah, I think like an analogy that I would be able to use is, when you start a company, I always look at it like if your company is 3 years old, it's like a little toddler, like a little child. They're just learning to speak, they're just learning to walk, they don't know who they are yet, they don't know what kind of life they
Yeah.
want, they're still building themselves up. And by the time they're 7 or 10 years old, they've got a little bit of a personality. They are their own person. And at one point, as a parent, you got to let your kid go because it's better for them to be out in the world than, you can't always hold on to your kid. Well, you can, but not, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in that sense, I'm like, once I feel like it's at a stage where it's better for it to be out in the world, then I'm able to let it go.
But was that always your mindset, especially when you sold the first company? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, especially with our first creations, our first baby, it's ours.
Yeah.
We just don't we just keep
It's your
holding on
baby.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tough to let something go that you love. But if you love it that much and it's better for it to go somewhere else, you gotta let it go. Like you can't if you truly, truly love it. I think that, again, it's very hard to let go of something, obviously, especially if you worked so long on it and it's everything. Um, but I mean, everyone's different. This is just my way of
Yeah.
doing it. A lot of people, I'm sure, they want to build something and have it forever, and it has to be a legacy of the family, or it's they're building an empire for the next generation, which obviously I also want to do, but not every single item. I don't think anything's forever. Everything has a product life cycle, and yeah, like I do whatever is more important for the other thing. It's not about me; it's about the thing.
How did your view on success change after you saw the company? Because a lot of people at 16, they are still at high school. Probably you were also at high school, and they just what they f- their focus is on like doing homework and getting themselves like a little job on the side, trying to make it to college and become someone. But you have already attained a lot of people what a lot of people want in their lives at 16.
Mhm.
What happened after then? Like,
I mean, it's a journey. A journey as in like it comes with a lot as well. Um, Not always good things, and it's a lot of life lessons. And I was still a kid. I was still young. Still making stupid decisions. Still making mistakes. Not knowing how to deal with things. Um, and it's a roller coaster. So yeah, you can do well at something, but then it's also very easy to lose it, right? And I think it's very important to sort of understand, everyone wants to make money all the time. Like, I want to make money, I want to make money, I want to make money. But I feel like there is a lack of understanding of the importance of keeping it and sustaining your progress or your winnings. And like it's one thing, like anyone can make money. It's not that hard, but I think it's harder to hold on to it and be smart with it. And how do you invest it? And how do you make sure your money works for you? Like you need some kind of, yeah, I don't think a lot of people talk about that enough. The importance of
yeah.
sustaining what you've achieved. Like, for example, like an athlete, like, yeah, they can be the best player of the season, but for them then is, how do I do it again? How do I do it again? How do I do it again? Like it's yeah, being at the top as a musician, for example, like how do you maintain that? That sets you apart. You can be a one day hit, you know, like you can have one hit song, but what's your album like? You know, what's your next song going to be? That really determines like who you really are. Everyone can get lucky once or twice. But I feel like the real strength is in people that can, you know, just do it over and over and over again. Like in the realm of money making, like if you do it one time, amazing. But if you lost it, and most of the time, a lot of people lose it, can you do it again? You know, and then have you learned the lessons from the first time? Can you do it again? And can you do it again? And that sort of that for me is like the real winner's mentality. You know, like can you start something from scratch and then a week later can you do it again? You know, so yeah, that's yeah, the sustaining of it I find very interesting.
What would you say is the key to maintaining wealth when you've acquired a lot of it?
Patience, I think. I think patience is very important. Um, I think um, spreading it out, not putting all your eggs in one basket. Investing into things that investing in your own future, investing in yourself, I think is a very important one. Um, Becoming better and giving back. I think giving back is a very important one. I think it's one of the biggest hacks in business. Giving at least 10% of whatever earnings you make, whether it's a salary of 2,000 euros or whatever. If you give 200 euros to a charity, it'll come back 10 times more in a weird way. I feel like a lot of people don't know that one. Um, yeah, I think the patience ones that probably stands out the most for me. You know, like people tend to want everything now and do whatever it takes to get it now. But if you have patience, then it's kind of okay to, you know,
Yeah,
to wait.
it's what a lot of people say. It's not about getting married. It's about staying married. It's not about starting a business. It's about staying in business.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're
Like,
a better podcaster. Yeah, you said that everything I just said, you just said it like two sentences.
yeah, because it's not about like on our way here, like we were just talking about the podcasting and business and I think yeah, it's not about I think with anything, you also need to know your weakness. So, for example, with myself and the podcast, like how I struggle with being consistent. How can I make it consistent for me? And then you just put a system in place that will allow you to be consistent. Like, for example, for me, it's like recording a season in like one go or, but because I know my weaknesses. And I also know that I made multiple six figures when I had my business before, but then I lost it all. So I know what my weakness is.
Yeah.
My weakness is like where do I invest the money to multiply it? Because anyone can make money, but it's not about making money anymore. It's about how do you sustain that and how do you invest that money? Especially like in this area that we live in, a lot of people start online businesses, a lot of people know how to make money, but not a lot of people know how to invest money. It's what I said to you before. It's like, how did you know when you sold a company what to do with that
I
money?
didn't.
You didn't.
I didn't know. So I made all those mistakes, right? So similar to yourself, it was, you know, um, making the mistakes. And I call it like college money. You know, the money I've made and lost, to me, is just college money. It's just lessons that I learned. Um, and I feel like I've made more mistakes in my life than a couple of people put together in their entire lifetime, which then obviously is where you learn, right? Like
From your failures,
from your
not from
failures.
your success.
From your success, you just take it for granted. You just move on. You've done well yesterday. You don't think about it. But when you make a mistake, then you gotta reflect on it. You gotta think, okay, how do I not do that again? What should I change? How do I get better at it? Do I have to go back to the drawing board? Like, what do I change? And I think that's where growth is. You know, I think growth comes not from success, think it comes from making the mistakes and being okay with making the mistakes. Like I'm an inventor, so I have to make mistakes. I have to sample. I have to make prototypes. I have to do drafts. I have to do over and over and over and over again until I hit that right formula of like, oh, okay, now it works, And then not just it works, but also the market's ready for it and the timing is right and everything is aligned. I have loads of products just sitting there waiting for the tech industry to improve a battery or for the tech industry to improve the efficiency on a solar panel or whatever. But they're all sitting there waiting till the market goes, hey, Reuters and Bloomberg announce batteries are now better and, it's more sustainable and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I have something that's ready for this, and then I launch it. So yeah, it's a timing thing as well.
This is a very I'm really curious about this. My ruffles and feathers here. But do you think that you are numbed to success because you attain a lot of it at a very young age?
That I'm numb to success?
Yeah.
No, I mean I mean it depends on what you call success. Firstly, my definition of success is moving towards your goal. I don't think success is a place that you get to because you can always do better. You can always grow. It can always be bigger. But for me, success is moving towards it and not standing still. So yeah, in that sense, success, I'm definitely not numb to it. Like, because I like doing it. I like being in the moment. Um, I'm a bit of an introvert, as you know, so it's kind of like I'm very focused on just doing it every single day. I wake up, I have a list of 3 to 5 things I need to do, and I tick it off on my notes in my phone every single day once I've achieved it. And then tomorrow I'll do that again. And then 2 weeks later, I'll look back and I've done, X amount of steps more than anyone else because I'm very systematic in that sense. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't think I'm numb to success. I do have this tendency that I am aware of where I'm constantly wanting to grow and I don't take time to uh, I don't take time to enjoy what it has been created, you know, constantly. Like the moment I've achieved something like a milestone, it takes me 10 minutes and I'm stop celebrating and I'm like, all right, go next. Like, what are we doing now? You know, like, um, yeah, it's, it's, uh, it's just this thing within me, like if I were an athlete and if I was a football player and I scored a goal, I would pick up the ball. I would run to instead of like celebrating, I would run to the goal post, grab the ball, run back to the midfield and go, okay, let's go again.
Yes.
That's the kind of person, So I'm constantly wanting to. It's also a curse at the same time
Yeah.
because I don't reflect enough on it, and I'm learning how to take my time. I think COVID was really good for me because it was the first time I got to stop and look back of what I've done over my 20 plus years of doing random businesses and products and things. So it was the first time where I went, okay, I've actually done something. Because before that, I was just constantly go, 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 go. So that was a big lesson for me to understand, like, wait a minute, okay. Sometimes you got to step back a little bit. Having said that, I still prefer let's go on to the next, let's do it again, let's do it bigger, let's do it better, let's improve it. Yeah.
I think also it's all about finding success in days that you feel things are not moving. Just quick example, like this morning, like yesterday was such a high. I had an amazing podcast episode, recorded the 10th episode, and it's
Congrats.
thank you. And but that thought for me, it's crazy because back in January or back in February, like this was in my mind. And like obviously people will see it when it's launched, but there has been years of
Yeah.
like this. Like when I moved to London, I wanted to start podcasts, but I didn't because I had to build a business to pay rent, pay bills, and make ends meet. But for me, like this morning, I was just in a very like bad mind space, and I was talking to my partner. It's like, just things are not moving. I need to move things faster and faster. And he's like, you just record your 10th episode. You know that, right? Like, you're about to launch it. Like, you know that, right? Like, and for me, I'm starting to understand that it's also being okay on the days that you feel things are not moving, because it's when things are happening the most, even though you're just not go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important. But like, how do you deal with those, going back to, you said you have 3 things to do in the day. How do you deal on days that are not as good as other days,
Um,
when bad things happen, or when you are just not in the mood, or like, how
I
do you deal
can't.
with that?
I cancel the day.
Mm.
I'm like, I can tell early in the morning that my shoelaces come untied or I drop a pen. I'm like, oh, okay, there's something up today. And then I'm sure everyone has. I don't know if everyone has it. I have it, but it's like one business deal that I thought was going to go through didn't go through, and then the next message is also something happened with a staff member, and the moment this, like, I can see this pattern, I cancel all of my meetings. I sit on the couch, turn on Netflix, or read a book, or go for a walk. I don't touch my phone. I don't want to talk to anyone, because I feel like there's something in the air at that time that just this is just a bad time to do anything. So, and then I just really accept it. And it doesn't matter how important the more important the meeting, the quicker I'm canceling it on that day, because the day isn't going well. And it happens like once every week or once every 2 weeks. I'd say on average for me. And yeah, I instantly can tell where I'm like, okay, let's let me just go to sleep without having done any work, and then tomorrow is a new day. Nothing is that important for me to break that rule for me. I don't think
Mhm.
anything for me is that pressing that I will go out of my way to
Mhm.
do. If I don't want to do something, I'm not doing it. Like, even if it's the most important call, if I'm not in the mood for it, it's not happening,
Mhm.
because I'm not going to force something if my energy and my heart isn't there, So, yeah, I'm very particular. Like, and then I know exactly when those days are. I can feel it.
Mhm.
Everyone
Yeah.
feels it. Like
Yeah.
just an off day where you talk to your best friend and you get into an argument, and then you're supposed to have a business thing, and you're like, no, I'm not doing it
Yeah.
today. Like,
How, tying it back to this, you've found success, but how did you deal I'm sure you also lost a lot of money in bad investments, like millions. Like, we're
a
talking about
lot.
that your losses are, you've been 20 years in business, right? So your losses now are not like 50K or 5K that we might, people that are starting out, or, you
Mm,
know, um, it, the master now in business. Like, I remember when I lost like my first 2K. Oh my gosh, my
yeah.
world collapsed. We're talking about the game that you are now in playing, which is the game that I aspire also to be, is how do you deal with losing a lot of money? Does that set you back in your mindset of, okay, like, I'm not made for this? Like, how do you build this resilience and
It's the
this,
same feeling as the 2K.
is it?
Yeah.
Even when you lose millions?
Yeah. It's like, that heart sank, like, because I've also done that, like I put 2K somewhere and it didn't, and I'm like, oh shit, there goes my rent money. Now what do I do? Like, in the sense of, if it's 20,000 or 200,000 or 2 million, that feeling in your stomach is just,
Is it the same?
oh yeah, yeah, it's definitely the same. It it's stressful, but again, for me, like, losing money is as important as making money. It's like it's the same thing. It's as valuable, if anything, maybe even more valuable. Um, yeah, I'm okay with, like, obviously I don't want it. I don't want to lose money. It's still business, but I'm very okay with making mistakes. And if it's something that I believed in the first place, then yeah, so be it. I believed in it. It's my own fault. But I will never invest my last, like, I okay, how do I put this? I diversify
Mm.
enough for me to not worry about one thing going wrong.
Mm.
So by that example, let's say people, not everyone, and crypto is a very interesting business, but majority or like of the people that get into the crypto space that don't know what they're doing, they tend to make it their job by putting 90% of their money into crypto.
Yeah.
And if it goes south, then they feel bad and shitty.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like I should have known better, kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, spreading out your bets. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You know, invest 10% into 10 different things is way better than putting 100%
Yeah.
into one thing, you know,
And
especially if you're not in control of it.
yeah. And I was like, you manage a lot of professional athletes, fans. We talked about this before. You kind of like do private equity or fund management. But what are you seeing that it's a pattern when it comes to people investing?
Hmm.
What's the number one thing that makes people lose their money instead of maintaining their wealth? Because now you know that, right? And you
Hmm.
do that for them, but they
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Which is why I tend to help them. Um, I think, you know, a lot of people, we get lost in the idea of the potential. And sometimes, like, it might not work out, but you're so in love with the idea of it working that you ignore all of the red flags. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I really think this is going to work. And there's all these little things happening in the meantime, but you ignore them yourself
Yeah.
because your idea of it working is way stronger, essentially. So I think that is a lot of the times where people are very optimistic with the idea. But yeah, I mean, in the investing sense, I think a pattern that I've noticed is people invest in other people, and the importance of like personal relationships that I feel like is something that in the investment world is kind of like everyone's trying to automate everything. Let me put it this way. You know, like we live in Bali, so our neighbors are all coaches, and respectfully, you know, everyone's has a course to sell, for example. But at the end of the day, what are they all trying to do? They're all trying to automate it, you know, and they're all trying to not, they lose this personal touch, and then they lose their clients, and, you know, and it goes across various industries, you know. I think, yeah, investing in people is very important. Um, yeah, sorry, I lost, forgot the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanna take this to obviously because you're now very, secure on your career and you work really hard to get to this point, but would you be able to take us to a moment in your career that you kind of were at rock bottom, or a moment that you just remember because you've been like through the dark valleys of entrepreneurship and what you learned from it and how you got yourself to the point that you're at right now?
Um,
Is there a day or a month or a year that you're just, whoa, that was really,
oh yeah, if I get into some of these stories, um, yeah, it's I'm a people's person. I'm an emotional person, especially when it comes to like friends and family and all these things. And I feel like my rock bottom was losing friends over money, essentially. And to me, that was a very like sad time when, you know, you're doing well and you want your friends to come with you, and once you get taken advantage of, I felt like that was probably my rock bottom, where I felt used, and it's just not a nice feeling, especially when you love people, you know. So yeah, that's it from a personal standpoint. From a business standpoint, rock bottom is, you know, trusting people, like the wrong people. You know, but again, those are also mistakes that I learned from, you know. Um, Rock bottom has been, you know, feeling super low, um, and feeling borderline depressed of because I set my goals really high, and if I don't achieve my goals, I keep working at it. But obviously, we're human, so some days I wake up and I feel like a loser because I'm not achieving these things that I really want to achieve, and yeah, I think those times are hard, but I feel like a lot of people probably have that feeling as well, where you have a vision for yourself and you just don't know how to get there, or it's taking too long, or you don't have enough money to do it, or you don't have the right people to help you with it. So those are like the more frustrating times. Um,
Do you think that money equals happiness
Money,
or
whether
wealth or
um, it doesn't. It's not everything, for sure, not everything. Money, you know, I know a lot of people with money who are very unhappy. So I would say no to that question, because money is like it's an energy, you know, but you can have a good energy or a bad energy with it. So um yeah, no, money does not equal happiness. I think happiness, it helps. It's a part, like I think it's an accumulation of different things. Because like even when you say success, for example, for me, when I hear the word success, I'm not thinking money. You know, for me,
interesting.
success is, you know, you can be healthy and that's a success. You can be a good boyfriend or girlfriend, that's a success. You can be a good son, that's a success. Um, Money, financials is important. You know, that's a success. Have you got your own freedom in life? That's a success. So it's an accumulation of everything. And I think all, like most of those things put together equals happiness. You know, like how patient are you? How calm are you? How, what are you giving back? You know, that's a success. Like if someone says to me, like, you know, on Instagram, you know, it's always these ads going, this is how you make 10,000. I don't know why everyone's obsessed with this $10,000 a month
Yeah.
thing, but $10,000 apparently is the number. How to
Yeah.
make it $10,000, or I made $20,000 by the age of 17, or 200, I don't know, whatever. But, and people think that that's the flex.
Mm.
But for me, I'm like, imagine this person popped up on your screen going, hey, guess what? I opened 2,000 schools before the age of 26. I'm sorry, but that's more successful than 3 million before 26. You know, it's like, yeah, money. I feel like it's a very people have different emotions when they hear the word money. You
Yeah.
know, it's not everything. It's not. It is very important. You know, we're all in business to make money for different reasons. Um, but money comes with greed. Money comes with ego. Money comes with a lot of bad energy as well. If you don't know how to manage it, you know, that's why people lose themselves when they make money. This is why
Did you lose yourself though?
I did. Yeah.
How did you get yourself back?
Um, I remember it really well. It was 2017 in the summer. It was New York, and I was about 28 or 29 years old then. And I just was doing dumb stuff, like, you know, not valuing my friends, not valuing myself, not being healthy. I was going out. I cared about a watch. I cared about a car. I cared about what people thought. I cared about perception. I would, you know, just yeah, do all these little things that has never been inside of me, but just came with the surroundings of everything and things that were happening at the time. And then one day I woke up and I was like, yeah, you've lost yourself. This is really not who you are. And you, I really had to just grow from that. I just went, okay, wait a minute. This is not me. I'm not growing any further from this either. And how do I get better? So I really had to make a switch, and I gave up a lot of things to understand that. And yeah, but I think
What did you get? What did you give up?
um, I gave up chasing. Like I was constantly chasing something bigger. I was always back then trying to make new friends and trying to do like I don't know expand. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, let's say new friends and that. And then I learned to, instead of loving new friends, love my friends that I have already more. So let me give them more energy rather than give more energy to random people. You know what I mean? So I started looking after my own more rather than going out and handing it out to others. Yeah.
How long was the process to getting yourself back? Because probably you got yourself back, but a very version of yourself. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight. Maybe the switch happened like, well, you
Yeah.
just wake
I'm
up
still
one
in the
day.
process of it, to be honest.
Interesting.
I'm still in the process of becoming better. Like, even so, for example, last year, well, on New Year's Eve, this last past New Year's, I looked at myself and I looked at 2023, and I'm a very like a numbers guy. I see everything in numbers most of the time. So I started analyzing, the months and what was happening, and how I was doing, and like everything in 2023, and I felt like I was not as productive as I could be, because of my lack of time management and because of the lack of stamina and health. Um, I was too tired all the time, or I was going out too much, or I was drinking. And so all these things, I was like, I wasn't looking after myself enough, I'd say. So near like the beginning of the year, I decided to go, you know what, let me just focus on pure health and let me become stronger. So go to the gym every single day since New Year's, not skipped a single day, eating healthier. Um, I want to travel less, look after myself mentally a little bit more, and but this is in the last year, right? So my progression of becoming a better person is still evolving. I'm constantly trying things to become a better person.
Did you did you get lost in the pursuit of whatever it was that you were chasing?
Um,
Because there's always more, right? Like one is enough, and especially like in the industry you're in. But I just ask this because sometimes we just get lost in the pursuit of whatever it is that we're pursuing, and then we just woke up one day and realize like, okay, hold on, like what am I doing? What is that I'm actually pursuing?
yeah, I don't know, to be honest, because my pursuing something comes from a place which is I have to enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, I'm not doing it. So I would never,
Purpose.
yeah. Like if it's I'm not doing something for the money, I'm doing it because I like it, because I get joy out of it. So it doesn't matter whether it's speaking to someone, sending that email. I really just have to enjoy. I have to be passionate about it, and it needs to have a purpose for myself. And then it doesn't feel like work anymore. So I don't really tend to do a lot of things anymore where I'm like it goes against my way of being, my everyday life. Because also, I think my biggest struggle that I have at the moment today is probably time management, in the sense of, I have like 7 different roles, different companies that I'm currently sort of balancing.
You're balancing 7 different companies right now.
Yeah. But for all of them, oh, most of them, I have like a CEO in place, so it's not like a day-to-day thing. Some of the companies doesn't require me to be there daily. I can check in once a week for an hour with the team, and it's fine. So it's not like I'm running 7 jobs at the same time. Also, it gives me a good uh, balance of like, one day I don't want to deal with fashion. Like I have a fashion brand, and I'm like, I just don't want to talk about fashion. I really don't care about Instagram. I just want to do real estate stuff. And then a couple of days later, I just don't want to talk to an architect. I'm like, I just want to, do something else. And then so it allows me to jump in between things, which is great. It's like, stepping away from something, let your brain think about something else, and then you go back to, okay, let me make this solar product now for this toy that I really think is a good idea. Yeah. Yeah.
To I think that You said something really interesting, which is like you're still finding like the way back to yourself. And I think it's very important, especially like in this industry, entrepreneurship, like where we're always chasing and pursuing. Because for me, I also got lost in the pursuit. And then one day you just look around and it's like, okay, like what am I really pursuing? Because when I started out 4 years ago, it was all about money because I needed to pay bills, I had to make ends meet. But then you just get to a point of like, okay, well, what is it am I pursuing? It's like we just rush all the time, and then we need to stop and like take a look around. It's like, what am I actually rushing? What am I actually pursuing? And I think for me, like I got lost in that, and then I lost kind of like myself, but in a way of I lost my values and
Mm.
who I was because I attached myself onto I need to work this many hours, I need to make this much money, I need to pursue fame and money and like success all the time. As in like I wanna get to the destination, but I don't think we ever get to the destination to
I'll give you
that
an example.
point.
I'll give you an example exactly that. Uh, like 2016, I had this idea. Like there was a milestone. I wanted to open a store in New York with a fashion brand, and one way or another, a huge celebrity reaches out and goes, "Seth, let's do this collaboration." We open a store together, and for me, that was everything. I was like, okay, the moment if I do this store with this person, I'm successful. Like this is going to be a big deal. It's a massive milestone, and so it was like a 8 month build up. The production, the moving everything to New York, the opening, the building out of the store. We had the store for like 2.5, 3 weeks, like a pop up store, and during Fashion Week. And so I'm building this up and doing this thing. And in my head, I'm like, okay, the moment I close the store is when it's done. I've achieved it. Like, this is the ultimate pinnacle of what I can do. And so we open the store. Everything's great. We sell. Like it's in the news. It's going around the
How much
world.
did you
It's
sell,
going viral.
if I may
I
ask?
I created a limited capsule collection basically, um, with fashion items. So it was like scarves and t-shirts and jackets and shoes and socks and like just a bunch of different things. A big lesson for me as well. That don't rent a space for 2 weeks. If you sell out your products within the first 3 days,
Whoa.
then all of a sudden you've got 2 weeks left of having no product. But yeah, that's a separate story. Anyway, so I really wanted to open this store, and I felt like, okay, this is going to be the moment I'm going to be successful. And then yeah, we do the whole thing, and then the day that we close the store, I'm standing outside with my laptop, and I'm like, I look around, and I'm like, all right, so nothing's changed. Like it's all the same thing. Like this, I don't have like a different filter over my eyes. There's no red carpet everywhere for me. There's no, don't people don't look at you differently. It's just what it is, you know. And then I realized that the entire process of me opening the store and dealing with this person and blowing this up, I didn't enjoy a single step of it.
Because you were put in the spotlight because you were dealing with a big celebrity, or what was it that made you not enjoy the
I
process?
didn't, for me, I was constantly like, I need to achieve, I need to close the store for it to have, like, it needs to be done.
Mm.
So I constantly, like, to me, that was the success point. Like, once I
Mhm.
achieve it, that's it, ready. And yeah, I didn't enjoy the entire process. When after that, I looked back and I was like, okay, I need to learn to really enjoy the journey a little bit more now. And yeah, that's where I realized that success for me is just moving towards it, just going there at any which pace. As long as you're moving towards it forward, you're doing something a little 1% better every day. That to me is success.
Is that also why you stopped enjoying working with big celebrity names?
Sorry?
Is that also the reason why you stopped enjoying working with big celebrity
No,
names?
I still enjoy working with them. Definitely. Um, yeah, no, I definitely still enjoy that. I mean, it's great to work with successful people because they've done something with their
Mm.
lives. That's why I hang out with athletes a lot. They've had to gone through a lot ever since they were kids. They have to deal with a win one week and deal with the loss the next week, and then deal with the win again, build themselves up, have discipline, go to training, sacrifice things in life. Like I have a lot of respect for athletes or just even famous people, a musician. You know, they're not just performing at Coachella because they can perform. They're in the studios every single day. They're writing every single day. They're improving themselves every single day. And that's how you reach the top. So surrounding myself with these people is it elevates me and it motivates me and it inspires me to hang out with someone that is amazing at what they do. You know, you could be an amazing chef. That discipline that you took to become that chef, the tests, the trials, the competition, the all these things you had to go through. I admire that.
Yeah.
I think I like hanging out with successful people for that reason.
Yeah, I think it's also not about the end product, which is what a lot of people see, but it's about, like, for example, with this podcast, people will see the end product, which is the episode itself. People will see, like all the team that's behind it, but they won't see the days that I couldn't film, or the recordings I have been lost, or
Yeah.
like people that you were gonna book but they you can book, and it's, or the days it's like, whoa, like, I'm recording podcast, is this good enough? Are we doing good enough to put these out there? Are we? And I think it's the same with you. It's like people see the end product, but there there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, and I think learning how to enjoy the lows as much as the highs, I think that's when you know you made it.
Mm.
Because for me, it's like, oh, I will make it when I have 1 million in my bank account, or when, the podcast is at a billboard. Would I enjoy that? I will enjoy it so much. Of course, it's those are milestones, but I think that for me, it's more like enjoying where you're at right now, and the behind the scenes, like
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
because the end product, everyone can see it, but then it's your product out there in that New York store, and you're just like, I don't feel good at all, and
Yeah.
I should feel good,
Yeah.
and why am I not feeling good? Like, and you just, you know
Yeah.
can just wrap your head around it. It's like, I should feel amazing to, like, be doing this with this person and selling out in 3 days and have millions in sales, whatever much, and you just, I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a big part. Safe, just to finish up, wrapping up this episode, what is something that you're working on, and what is the impact that you want to leave on people?
Mm. I really want to create something that impacts the world on a global scale with something that helps everyone, um, with like an invention is what I mean here. Which it's especially for kids. I want to really create something for kids that to help them better their lives. I feel like the world is obviously in a state. Let me put it that way. There's a lot going on, and yeah, I feel like one of the things that I want to do is protect people and especially children. So I would love to create something. Um, I have a big vision for something I want to do, and I've had it for 20 years. And every single thing that I'm doing up until today is all a stepping stone for me to reach that goal. And I know I will get there, and then it will probably be the happiest day of my life when I get there. Um, yeah, I want to create something very impactful, to help children, especially in places that are underdeveloped. So there's 200 million people plus in Indonesia. A lot of them are in remote areas, living in villages. India, same thing. Africa, same thing. These are very hot places, so I feel like it's going to be a solar powered solution, um, because it's the easiest option and the best, in my personal opinion. So yeah, I would really want to make something impactful and help as many people as I can. I think every single product or thing that I've created helps someone in one way or another. Um, so that's why I feel kind of like feel good about it, because as long as you help I think it carries a lot of energy to be able to give something to someone. And yeah, I don't know when it's going to be. That's the thing, you know, like I always know I'm gonna do something. I just don't know when and how.
But you end up doing it
But I
anyways.
end up doing it. I know for a fact it's going to happen. But if you ask me how and when it's going to happen, those two things are not up to me. That is up to the universe to decide to go, okay, now the time is right with this particular thing. It's all aligned, ready to go. And my job is to just remember, okay, it's going to happen, and just keep practicing and working on it until it's done.
Nice. Saif, thank you so much for sharing all
Thank you.
your lessons, failures, journey with us today. It was really a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us today, too.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, guys. It's your host here, Geni Cor. If you made it this far, I hope that this episode has helped you heal, grow, expand in some way. It would mean the world if you can subscribe, like, and comment, because it's going to help the podcast grow massively. Your support means the world to me and to my team. And we're just gonna bring you better content, bigger guests. So please just support the podcast if you can. And if you think this is gonna help someone, please share it with them. I'll see you next Thursday.